In systematic theology, the mechanics of grace are often arranged into a framework called the Ordo Salutis, the order of salvation. This framework presents salvation as a linear sequence of discrete events, from calling and regeneration through justification and sanctification, ending in glorification. But applying this strict chronology to Paul's letters leaves major gaps. Paul instead centers his theology on union with Christ. Regeneration, justification, and sanctification operate as interlocking subsets of this overarching union rather than standalone steps. The totality of salvation exists within the framework of a shared identity with Jesus. Paul applies these benefits by mapping the believer's spiritual reality directly onto the historical narrative of Jesus. At the first historical note, Paul writes in Galatians 2:20, "I have been crucified with Christ." He anchors the believer's identity to the objective event of the crucifixion. This retroactive participation simultaneously cancels the legal penalty of sin and breaks its current tyranny over the believer. The timeline then advances to the resurrection. In Colossians 3, Paul reminds the church that they have been raised with Christ. Spiritual union with the resurrection functions as the mechanism for regeneration. Believers who were spiritually dead are made alive to a new existence. The power to overcome sin is drawn from a historical event 2,000 years ago. Union with Christ extends beyond earthly events, continuing into the ascension. In Ephesians 2:6, Paul describes believers as currently seated with him in the heavenly places. This present-day session provides absolute spiritual security. The believer's status is anchored beside the Father. Finally, the timeline reaches its endpoint, the return of Christ. Paul uses apocalyptic language to describe the believer's future. Their identity, wrapped in Christ, remains hidden from the world until revealed alongside him. Because the believer's timeline is inextricably linked to Christ's past and present, their final glorification is a historical inevitability. Theologian Richard Gaffin identifies union with the exalted Christ as the central reality and the essence of the Pauline order of salvation. In this model, the chronological events of Christ's life serve as the central hub from which specific salvific benefits emanate. Justification emerges directly from this hub. In 2 Corinthians 5:21, Paul explains that Christ, who knew no sin, became sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. This imputation of righteousness requires a shared identity. Adoption operates through the same mechanic. Paul writes in Galatians 3 that through faith, we are all sons of God in Christ Jesus. Paul uses the metaphor of baptism to describe being clothed with Christ. Believers share Jesus' eternal sonship because they are wrapped in his identity. Righteousness and sonship are not granted as detached legal gifts. Believers receive them because they now share the standing of the Son before the Father. This radical grace raises attention in Romans 6. If justification is an established fact, what prevents the believer from leaning into moral license? Paul addresses this through the indicative-imperative dynamic. The indicative is the established reality of what God has done, the fact that the believer has already been clothed with Christ. The imperative is the behavioral command to make no provision for the flesh, which is only activated after the indicative is established. St. Augustine abandoned his struggle with the flesh after Romans 13:14 shifted his focus from his own willpower to his given identity in Christ. Progressive sanctification flows from the spiritual security of an unchangeable status. The finalized architecture of Pauline grace shows a system in total unity. Salvation is a permanent transfer of location and identity. Through the work of the Spirit, the believer is woven into the redemptive history of the Son of God. From the cross to the final revelation of glory, the benefits of salvation are found entirely in the possession of Christ himself.